What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 78 of Week in Review. My name is Sean, and on this week's show, we're talking about Stuber, this week's new releases, and a pretty cool announcement that I'm excited to share with you. This week's lone movie is Stuber, and Stuber was one of the 5 movies I listed as my, anticipated for the third quarter. This is one of my favorite types of movies to review on this show, where I think this movie is so, thoroughly, okay. It doesn't do anything that is offensively bad that makes you hate it. It doesn't do anything amazingly good that makes you think it's the most amazing piece of film that's ever been made. It is so middle of the road, mediocre, forgetful, walk out of the theater, go to lunch, and forget it ever happened. Often on this show, I come on and I talk about movies that I really, really love, and I feel like I really struggle to articulate exactly why I love it, or I talk about movies that I really don't like or didn't meet expectations or whatever, and I have trouble figuring out exactly why it didn't work or pinpointing what would have made it better for me. And what makes Stuber so nice to review is I know exactly what I liked about it, exactly what I didn't like about it, and what I would do to fix it to make it a better or more enjoyable movie. Overall, like I said, Stuber is a very middle of the road, it happened, it exists type of movie. You'll go in, you'll maybe laugh for 90 minutes, and then you'll walk out of the theater, and again, you'll just forget everything. I actually forgot that I already said that part about this particular movie, and I was struggling to come up with plot points the very next morning, let alone 4 days later. I will talk about what I did like, and I think there is enjoyment to be had with this movie. I think overall, the tone of the movie is fun. I really like Kumail Nanjiani and Dave Bautista, who, because I haven't watched Guardians of the Galaxy, I was first introduced to as an actor last year in Hotel Artemis, and I remember liking him, even if maybe his performance was a little bit strained in that movie, and I think he's actually improved quite a bit, and I like him in this movie, and I'm excited to see him later this summer in My Spy. And I feel like Stuber and My Spy are going to be the Isn't It Romantic and The Hustle. Those 4 movies are going to be kind of on the same level with each other. Just fun movies that I will gladly go to. They are kind of throwaway pieces of entertainment, and then I will move on with my life. They're not going to stick with me like a Booksmart or a Toy Story 4 or a Lego Movie 2 or an Us or anything like that. But they're also not going to be this thing where I walk out and go I was better off flushing $6 down the toilet. And that's totally fine. I like that type of movie. I really like the pairing of Kumail Nanjiani and Dave Bautista, and I think that the movie is strongest when they are the focal point of the movie, when they're in the car together. That tends to be when the movie is its most interesting and funny. The movie doesn't really do much with the cop formula it seems to want to utilize. It's very formulaic and pretty easy to see where it's going. There are times where the pacing feels a little bit off, and even though this movie is only an hour and 35 minutes, it still somehow feels like it's 5 minutes too long, because there's a point where the action starts to ramp up and things start to happen, and it's kind of okay, you can wrap it up now. I'm kind of done with this. I'd like you to just finish up this story. I know where you're going with it. It's very easy to tell. For me, this movie boils down to 3 main problems I had with the plot, and then 3 smaller things that aren't necessarily game breakers, but certainly don't help the proceedings. It's at this point in the review I'm going to issue a spoiler warning for Stuber. That sounds really odd, but there are a couple of minor plot notes that aren't revealed in the trailers that I think are fun to watch without knowing what they are. So if you want to go watch Stuber, turn back now. I'll give you the Cliff's Notes versions real quick. Stuber is very okay. It's funny for 90 minutes. It might be a little bit long, but I don't think it's necessarily too long from a runtime perspective. It's that the pacing is off a little bit, and that seems to throw a wrench early to where you kind of see where it's going, so that when the tail end of things picks up, it starts to feel like you're okay, let's go, we're done. Anyway, so if you want to back out now, you're golden. Spoilers start now. My first major issue with this movie is a major plot point early on. We get introduced to Vic, who is Dave Bautista's character, and he's working with his partner, and they're trying to take down a drug lord, and they need to go into a hotel penthouse, whatever. And it's during this portion that one of my minor complaints comes into it. The camera moves way too much during the action sequences, and it's very hard to tell where things are going. I don't know if it was because I was tired or if there was some other reason, but for whatever reason, the camera moved so much that I looked away, because it was making me not feel well. And I've never had that experience in a movie before, where I was just irritated. I'm just hold the camera still for 2 fucking seconds so I can see what's going on. So after they finally do or don't capture the guy, they don't capture the guy, he shoots his partner in the gut and she dies. And what sucks about this is, one, I was hoping to see more of this character because I think that could have been a fun dynamic to have in the background. But two, it gives a little bit of a like fridging vibe to the movie that the movie doesn't really need. If you're unaware of what fridging is, it's typically used to reference a Green Lantern comic book where Hal Jordan finds his girlfriend dead in a refrigerator, and it's like the frustration of using a female character as a sacrifice to give the male character motivation. And it started to spring up a lot during Deadpool 2. And while I didn't necessarily agree with it in Deadpool 2, I did understand where they were coming from. And I saw what people were saying, where they're like, this is kind of like a fridging incident, but like I just didn't agree with that particular application of it. I think it's applicable here. And I don't think it needs to be. Where my fix for this comes in is I would have liked to have seen them just maybe have her retire, like be injured and retire and move on with her life, but have Vic kind of stuck in the past of like, I'm going to get the person who did this to you, I'm going to make them pay. But she's like, no, it's like, it's totally fine. Like, I understand that like things happen. I've moved on. I've made peace with it. I'm on a new chapter of my life. I need you to let it go, and let Vic drive a wedge between them. So instead of him getting kind of cast into this like super dedicated jerk police officer / terrible dad thing, you can understand that he's maybe just an angry or frustrated person, and he drives wedges between everyone that might like bring him some sort of happiness in his life. It'd just be nice to not see him in such a like generic kind of archetype. And I think what you can do with this is you can extend his backstory a little bit and make his, and this isn't a surprise, you can make his like U-turn to being a better person a little more impactful. And that was the second thing that I thought was off with this particular movie that I really didn't like. His turn kind of comes up unnaturally and in a weird way, and he makes too much of a turn without seeming to have really learned anything. But it also feels like whoever wrote this movie was like, hey, we're 2/3 of the way through, we really need to start wrapping some things up, so Vic needs to make a turn here. And this is where my second like small plot point issue comes into play. It's immediately after Vic makes his turn that a like secondary boss character to Stu at his normal like 9-to-5 job, because Stu drives Uber on the side, where he makes an even bigger U-turn as a character for even less of a reason. And I don't know if I'm supposed to take it seriously, because I feel like the tone of that scene is just off, like just a little bit, to where I'm like, I don't understand if I'm supposed to take you seriously or if you're making fun of the situation, from like looking at the boss's character and he's like, I wish you weren't making the decision you're making, because I really like having you at this job. And I'm like, I don't understand what that means. Like, am I supposed to care about that? Because I don't have enough information to understand where your character is coming from in this particular scene. And that kind of loops back to another of the big plot issue I have with it, is the unnecessary necessity of having Stu have a love interest that kind of just slows the plot down and is a little predictable in some spots, even if it was relatable. But the romantic plotline also gives Stu a time limit on something that he needs to do. Like, she's broken up with her boyfriend, she needs Stu to come help like deal with that situation, and that's his time limit. That's Stu needs to have a time limit. He needs to have something else that he needs to do that doesn't allow him to continue going to various places with Vic. And I think if you cut that out, and instead of you having a romantic subplot, if you have Stu maybe needing to go to work at a certain time, and instead of having the boss character be like a very like secondary character, give them a little bit more of an arc, you can make both of those turns work a little bit better. And granted, they don't have to work that much better. They just have to be more effective than what they are, which is kind of forced and tonally confused. There's also a little bit of a twist that shows up towards the end of the movie, and I don't think it's really shown all that well to not feel like kind of a cheat, and where it was like, I don't really care enough about this movie to have a huge problem with it, but when it showed up and when it happened, I was sitting there, I was like, oh, I mean, I guess. At the end of the day, Stuber is a buddy cop comedy that feels so very middle of the road. Like, it's there. I went in not expecting much. I still kind of felt a little bit disappointed in some of the aspects of the plot. I thought it was consistently funny for the most part. I thought it kind of maybe tried to say some interesting things, but didn't really commit to any sort of real message at the end of the day. And I mean, like, so much of this boils down to, like, not everything has to be this high-class piece of art, and that's totally fine. But there feels like such a big missed opportunity in a bunch of different little ways that add up to Stuber being just so middle of the road and just like, like, it's fine. I was surprised at how, like, graphically violent it was. Like, that took me by surprise. There's a plot element that I didn't really see coming because it's actually very well hidden from the trailers, and I thought that led to a lot of interesting interactions and slapstick comedy that I thought worked. Stuber is a very okay movie. Next up is this week's new releases. Moon gets a 4K Blu-ray release. This is a movie from 2009. It's a sci-fi movie starring now Academy Award winning Sam Rockwell as a guy who lives on the moon, and it just kind of follows his adventures through that. It is a fantastic movie. I loved it when it came out, and I should probably go pick this up so I can watch it again. Also, Shazam is out on Blu-ray this week. It's a very good movie from earlier this year. What a wonderful and pleasant surprise. Zachary Levi is great in the lead role. The ensemble is fantastic. It is an all-around, like, bright and fun movie that you should absolutely watch. It's the best DC movie I've seen probably ever. I don't know. Batman Forever is pretty good. Ooh, wait, hold on. The Dark Knight. Dark Knight technically qualifies as DC. Whoops. The Lion King hits theaters, and Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 hits the Nintendo Switch. It's a Nintendo Switch exclusive game, which is just mind-blowing. The streams this week are as follows. It's going to be Mario Maker 2 on Wednesday, to be determined on Friday and Sunday. But on Saturday, I'm going to do something a little different, and I'm going to take a look back at NFL 2K5, which celebrates its 15th anniversary. I'm going to play around with that. I have a couple of ideas that I'm kind of toying with at the moment. I'm going to see which works best. So Saturday is going to be kind of a cool, like, hey, I'm going to check out a retro game sort of thing, and see how well it holds up 15 years on, because 2K5 is held in very high regard. Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus, will get finished at some point this weekend. I'm just not exactly sure when that's going to be. So if you're waiting for more of that, don't worry. It's going to get finished. And now the moment you've all been waiting for. The announcement that I teased at the very beginning of the episode and then made you sit through a review of Stuber and this week's new releases and the streams this week to get to this point. And now I'm going to kind of just ramble on and see how many words I can put before I actually get to the announcement before you click away. Just hang on. There's only a few more words. Let me just put a few more words right here. Enough? Has it been enough time yet? Back in March, I did the March Mascot Madness tournament, which I had a ton of fun with, and I thought it would be cool to do one 6 months later. So we're going to do September Mascot Madness. If you don't know what March Mascot Madness was, using the video game NCAA Basketball, or NCAA March Madness, that's what it's called. NCAA March Madness 2005, you can select the mascot mode, and you can make teams like Gonzaga or Washington State or Washington or Oregon State or Nebraska or the Penn State Nittany Lions or the fan favorite Northwestern Wildcats. They are beautiful. You can make them play basketball, and that's basically what it is. We just watch mascots play basketball, and it's a lot of fun. The twist with this is that you actually get to pick a March Madness bracket, and that's what this announcement mostly is for. The reveal of the brackets will be live streamed on twitch.tv/ShaunosaurusRex on Tuesday, July 23rd. It will be on YouTube Wednesday, July 24th, and the brackets will be open shortly after the stream concludes on 23rd, and it will run all the way through September 4th, when the opening tip happens at 6 o'clock again on twitch.tv/ShaunosaurusRex. I'm going to be running through the entire bracket, all of the first round matchups. It's going to be mixed up from the last one. If you want to see the results of that, you can head on over to challenge.com/MarchMascotMadness1 and check out the results from that. Don't take those too seriously. It's computers playing each other at the highest difficulty. It's a total mess. There is no, none of the teams have statistical advantages over each other. They're all like 99s overall. We are going to be using a different game this time around. It's going to be NCAA Basketball 2009, and from the limited testing I've done, it seems like that's going to be a much improved way of doing it. The defense seems to run a little bit better, so it blocks out some of the more automatic plays from the first round, and the offense flows a little bit better on the fast break, which leads to more scoring opportunities, which hopefully will keep the games closer. I'm sure there will be some stinkers here or there, but that's fine. In order to get you even more excited for more Mascot Madness, I'm going to be posting every Wednesday from July 31st to August 28th. I'm going to be posting one of the 5 best games. We're going to count them down from 5 to 1 from the original tournament to get you excited for it, because they're a lot of fun, and I'm very excited about this, and I can't wait. So be sure to head on over to twitch.tv/ShaunosaurusRex and hit that follow button, and you'll be all set and ready for the bracket reveal stream next Tuesday. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of Week in Review. If you like the content, scroll on down and hit that subscribe button. If you like it enough, you can scroll on down and leave me a comment. Be sure to leave your Mario Maker levels if you're making them. Tell me what you thought of Stuber. Let me know if you're looking forward to this year's Lion King or Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. And if you saw Moon, tell me how much you loved it. If you didn't like Moon, you can tell me why you didn't like it, should you so choose. Check out the streams over on twitch.tv/ShaunosaurusRex on Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Be sure to go over there and follow so you're ready for the bracket reveal stream next Tuesday, the 23rd. And be sure to check back every Tuesday for more Week in Review. See you next week.